Hi, I'm Coach MK, founder of the Fitness Protection Program. I'm a run coach, not a life coach. We're never really talking about the running. Running is the tool. It's the conduit we use to examine the world we live in, as well as its impact on our own lives and the lives of the people around us. How we react to certain people and to certain stories tells us a lot about how we view ourselves. I'm committed to the thoughtful, intentional exploration of the importance of running so that no one discounts their own badassery, ever. Final note, this podcast is geared towards every runner who won't lose their home, livelihood, or health insurance if they show up to the corral with a hangover. Not that I'm encouraging you to do that, just saying. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Fitness Protection Podcast. Hi! Oh my gosh. Okay, we're live now. Get my finger off of that. And these earrings are big.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. You just went live in all the groups. Crazy.
Right? I love it.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, hello, Coach Jen.
Coach Jen is here.
Hello.
We've got all the coaches.
Yay.
It's amazing.
Yay.
Well, I know your time is really limited, so I wanted to. So let me start by saying, hi, this is Coach MK Fleming, the founder of the Fitness Protection Program. This is our weekly Ask Away with the Coaches podcast. It started Ask Away with Coach MK because, you know, that rhymes and ish, but now it's just we got all these coaches and they're all here. It's fantastic. So I would like to introduce everyone to our newest coach, Coach Jennifer Wolf, who is actually as overqualified to be here as Coach Sarah is. You have like PhDs in chemistry. I think you teach it at the university level.
I think I only have one PhD in chemistry, but yeah,
I only have one PhD in chemistry.
So far, the requirement is still just the one PhD in order to be a coach in the Fitness Protection Program.
I just love that everyone here is like way more educated than I am. So.
Hashtag so educated.
You know, it's important to have people who know what they're talking about when we talk about chemistry and a Renaissance Italian here in the Fitness Protection Program. Chemistry is more likely to come up, but that's only because you haven't seen the big thing that we've been working on now for weeks on end. But we will come to that. We will come to that later. Hopefully, all will be revealed next week. But for now, I really was hoping we could kickstart tonight's podcast with a recap of the first week of the Runner Interrupted Beta Test, which is being led by Coach Jen. Dr. Coach Jen of
Yay. I'm here.
Yeah, so tell us, how's it going?
Yeah, tell us, how's it going?
Oh, what's going? Okay, sure. So what's been going on? Yeah, so it's been a great week for this first week of Runner Interrupted Beta. We have daily posts where people are telling everybody else about what they're doing to kind of stay connected to this little running community of what we call runners not running, whether they be injured or taking a break from running for some other reason, recovering from surgery, some people, or, you know, fighting some running injury that they're trying to come back from. So we have our daily posts. We have, everyone has their training plan on Training Peaks, which is a way for us to kind of keep in touch with that running routine, even if we're not actually running. And it's been great. And some of the people are people I've known from before, some new names, and just a great group of people so far. And today people were posting about their weekly wins. Can I read some of these?
Yes, please.
Okay, so sure. Okay, so we have a couple people that are recovering from various surgeries, and one of the members said that her weekly win was being able to get up off the couch and be able to stand up out of her bed, which was actually a very huge win for her post-abdominal surgery.
Ooh, yeah,
another person it was a big one. Another person was recovering from dental surgery, so her weekly win was being able to give herself the rest and recovery she needed. She said she really needed to focus on that self-care, and that was her weekly win. Another member, her weekly win was getting packed for Colorado and not missing the plane. She's embarking on an adventure, something called the it's something called the American Adventure, which sounds something like this massive scale, amazing race kind of thing.
Wow.
Which, yeah, it's huge. And I know. and somebody else, weekly win, appreciating a lovely morning hike with my partner while the kids were with the babysitter, instead of feeling sorry for myself that I'm not running the local half marathon on this gorgeous fall day.
Oh,
so that's
a big deal. That's a really big deal.
That we've had. Yeah, for sure. And I myself actually had a bit of an extra challenge this week that I wasn't expecting, with a crazy little hit to the head, which shouldn't have been amounted to much, but because I've had head injuries before, I started to get some, post head injury sort of symptoms back, a headache for the day. And I thought I might be spiraling down to the same, issues that I'd had before, but thankfully it went away after just a day or so, which is great. So at least I know what to do and what to look out for from before that I've had. So
it's so, yeah.
So other than that, I'm just really happy for sure. Yeah. Other than that, I'm just really happy for this community that people have, for being able to stay in touch with their running routine, even if they're not running, basically keeping the habits of checking in daily, checking in weekly, and being able to be a runner even if you're not running.
Mm-hmm. It's a big deal. All of those little things add up.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're so lucky to have you, and we're so lucky to have you. I just want to say I am lucky enough to have met Jennifer in person last year when she ran the Boston Marathon. And it's so good to hear your voice. And I love what you're doing in the Facebook group. You're doing such a beautiful job. So thank you for helping us kick off this really different, but I think really, I was talking about at this wedding I was at last night, like really, really amazing, program for people that I think really need someone like you to kind of feel seen by every day.
Yeah. There's nothing
for that. I hope that I can
separated, not just from the thing, but from the people. Because most of us, very few of us will ever be lucky enough to have super duper, really close friends that are running buddies as well. I know throughout most of my adult life, there's been very little to zero overlap. The person that I ran with the most at graduate school, we live on different coasts, so that never happens. And most of my running friends are either clients. There's sort of you're disconnected from everything, right? So knowing how difficult that can be and how it can, exacerbate or intensify any negative emotions, during a period when you're frustrated, not doing the thing that you want to do. I thought it was really important, having been there myself, that we maintain as much consistency as we possibly can. Keep you in Training Peaks, keep you in Facebook, keep you tethered to me with Ask Away, knowing that the coach wants to see something from you every week. It's a time to lean in harder as a coach. It's not the time to back away. So I'm glad to see that people are responding to that.
Yes, that's for sure.
I haven't even seen the banal stuff I'm really going to ask him to do later. That happens when the book comes out. Yay.
There's one more actually that I forgot to read that I think is an important one, because this actually probably is what many of the injured runners are thinking. The one person wrote it as her weekly win, which was she's able to count on her support system. That was her weekly win. It's a new injury that she has now, but she has the support system in place of PT and chiro and other stuff that she knows how to count on. And it's really been helpful to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, because she's been there before. She knows where she's going to be able to get to. And that was her win. That was really important for her.
It's huge.
It is. That makes me so happy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us all the way up from in Canada and giving us that update. I am glad to know that things are working. Any suggestions that people have as they come up, changes that we need to make, we're still, that's the whole point of a beta test, is seeing what works and what doesn't. And the first components seem to work well this week. So I am counting that as a huge win right there.
Huge. Yeah.
Definitely.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Well, thank you much. And hopefully we'll see you same time next week and the week after. And the week after that, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not going to make you do that.
Okay.
Whenever you want to come in and chat, we would love to hear how things are going.
Yeah, but I love having your voice.
Thanks a lot.
I love having your voice on here. So I hope maybe, like on the weeks when you can't come, maybe you can record yourself reading weekly wins or something like that. I think there are a lot of really cool ways to incorporate you, even though I know you're really busy and you're in a whole different time zone. So like we're in 3 different time zones right now doing this. And I just think that's really cool. So yeah, thank you for making time to be here with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for including me. I'm really enjoying this.
Smart person stops whatever it is they're doing, saving the world, teaching people chemistry to, engage with us here.
Yeah.
Because you have better things to do, but you choose us instead. And that reminds us of what we're doing. It's really important.
That's right.
Oh, I love you guys. This is great. Okay. I will jump off now and just listen to the rest on the live stream. Bye-bye.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. God, I love her. I'm so glad she said yes.
Oh, me too.
I had no one else in mind. I was like, who's your backup? Like,
no, it had to be her. It had to be her. And I had the best time meeting her last April when she was in Boston. It was just so cool to like be sitting down and having a bagel with her. And I was so happy how well she did in that race. She's incredible. And she's really, really like come back from so many things and fought through so many things. Yeah. And I can really see how much people relate to her. And so I'm so happy she's here. Yay. We actually have a couple of runner interrupted questions. We have 2 runner interrupted questions. Then we have hella questions tonight, and we have hella shout outs to do later in the show. So let's get going.
Oh my God.
It's going to be an amazing night, and I have no kids, so no interruptions with adorableness, fortunately or unfortunately. Kind of fortunately for me though, because it's going to make this go a little bit easier and smoother. I love you, Roz. I miss you, but having my house to myself is amazing and rare. So first, this is Runner Interrupted. Thank you for this. So far, it's been amazing support during a time I can't run due to injury, and I appreciate the tether. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
I'm rehabbing my plantar fasciitis, and I can walk. I'd love to not lose all my fitness while I'm on a pause from running. I'm roughly following the duration of workouts for rebuild, but walking everything instead of running, and not doing intervals or pickups or anything, just putting one foot in front of the other. I'm also doing my PT exercises as prescribed and the rebuild strength. Perfect. Do you have guidance for how to approach the walks? Is there any way to make the walking more interesting? Oh, I feel this so much. I'm glad I can walk, but it's boring AF compared to running. Thank you for your coaching, love. So
no, I feel you.
Take it away.
So this would be, again, the opportunity. We look for what is the one thing I can't do, because I ask everyone not to run with music and headphones and podcasts. I know, really tune into your body and focus on matching your breathing with your footfalls and having a good idea of how much effort you're expending in any given moment. So this is a really great time to not do that and listen to podcasts like this one. We put out a lot of content, more than any one human could consume, yet somehow y'all do. There are other good ones. I've started a blog post that should go up later tonight or tomorrow with some of my favorite podcasts, and specifically some of my favorite podcast episodes. Because there are some, like the Conan O'Brien interview with Hannah Gadsby. I listen to that at least once a week. I like it so much. So there I will.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, when my brain won't slow down, I can't do anything but focus on her when she's speaking. She's so amazing. So it really does help me sort of like wind down when I'm having a week like this with ideas that kind of keep me up way too late. And I'm like, I can't send Kara any more slacks. I got to stop. So this is a good time, like listen to a book on tape and try and aim to like finish that book before you can run again. Or, 2 or 3 books. I know that for me, I don't read as much as I used to. I don't read as much as I would like to. And that if my runs had to become walks right now, that is the first thing I would do. Book on tape, get out the door, going.
So actually, I have a good one for this. I have not been able to listen to this podcast since my pregnancy, but when I was pregnant, I listened to Hardcore History by Dan Carlin. It is amazing. If it sounds totally boring to you, then it probably will be. But if you're like, ooh, that sounds kind of interesting. He does like 5 episodes on the Mongolians, and we're talking each episode is like, is like, 2 hours long or more. These are like deep dives into, thousands of years of different dynasties and empires and things. And it's so well done, and he's amazing. And it's like, I could never listen to this while running. But when I was pregnant, I walked and walked. And this podcast got me through pregnancy. I swear to God, because I was so bored of walking.
I like drunk history.
Well, I think Hardcore History Guy has a real good sense of humor. It's to each their own. Again, if you heard me say that and was like, that sounds terrible, then don't try it. You probably won't like it. But if it sounds interesting to you, like a really long podcast that's just super involved that you wouldn't listen to while running, you can't listen to when your kids are around. Like me driving down to Washington, D.C., with my daughter and her being like, no podcast. And I put on a podcast when she fell asleep and she woke up and it was like, Mommy, why is this on? She was like so offended. So yeah, exactly. I don't get those opportunities anymore.
Exactly. So looking at this like as an opportunity to do the thing that you don't normally get to do or experience the thing you don't normally experience. If this means going to the gym and watching a TV show while you walk on the treadmill. Hey, guess what? It's a walk. You won't need to shower. Maybe a shower and wash your hair afterwards. It'll be much faster than a trip to the gym normally would be. There are a lot of different things you could do. We'll make some suggestions on the blog. Just remember that the most important thing you could possibly do during this period is keep those crucial adaptations in your feet, your tendons, your joints, your ligaments, especially your ankles, because those are the hardest things to get back once they're gone and they leave the fastest. So we need to keep your body adapted to the sport, upright and moving as much as possible. And walking is better than nothing. I promise. You won't be sorry.
All right. Next question. And this is a short question, but it's a big answer, I think. How do you balance the fear of failing at goals with the need to make goals? Do you have some hope of success?
For me, I think it's really important. This is why all of my questions start with why. What do I need to get? What am I hoping to get out of this? Because once that question is down, all of a sudden that goal might not be that important. Or I look at the thing that I want to get out of that is probably not going to come from that goal. And this happens a lot. It happened today. And I talk myself back from it, which is not to say that we can't have goals and want big things and expect excellence from ourselves in different ways. It's just knowing that you can't demand it out of every aspect of your life and expect to stay balanced. You're going to drop things, and the things that you drop, I'm not saying they're impossible to get back, but you're just creating more work for yourself. So to that end, when you kind of ask yourself, why is this important, and you address it, the fear of failure really decreases. It has less power over you, and the fear doesn't totally disappear. There'll always be a little low-grade anxiety there. At the same time, once you've realized and put it together and said, oh, if I do this, that was never going to happen. Do I still want to do this? Yes. Yeah. Okay. You can sort of separate the two and separate the fear. And this is part of what I do in therapy every week. How about you, Sarah?
Yeah. Well, I wrote about this a little bit on my blog this past week, writing about my marathon that I ran last weekend.
I know.
And just kind of...
Well, I brought it up.
Well, thank you. Thank you for teeing me up.
I didn't read this yet, guys. You need to. And I'm sorry, it should have been in my nuzzle. I'll go back and add it to the outtakes. That was an honest mistake, because I expected you to effing put it in there when I said, where are the links?
Well, sometimes I'll be like, here's my link. What about my link? Put my link. Put me in, coach.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to. That's your job.
I do.
That's your job.
It is my job. It is my job. I'll
promote
do
yourself.
A better job next time. Hey, I put it in my I put it in my newsletter. So, so yes, I did not run races for a long time because I was afraid of being disappointed, basically. And then I started running races again, but only on the condition that I had no expectations for myself. And I talked about this in a mantra a couple of weeks ago, the fear of disappointment. Like I was so afraid of being disappointed, that I basically just kind of went through my life from a pretty young age thinking that pessimism was better. It was better to expect that nothing good was going to happen, because that way there was no way I could be disappointed. And if something good did happen, then I would be wrong, but I would be wrong in a happy way. But if indeed the bad thing happened or the good thing didn't happen, then at least I was right, you know?
Did that ever work?
No, of course not. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work the way it feels like. It sounds like it's going to feel good to be right. But then there was a podcast that you were on a while back, and you said, it was one sentence that you said, and you were like, do you want to get better or do you want to be right? And you weren't talking to me.
Or do you want to be better? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Do you want to be right or do you want to be better? Talking about people who insist that they don't care, they're never going to get faster and they're fine with it and whatever because they want to be right.
Yep.
And being right feels like something that you at least have control over. If you say this and then you never get better, then at least you were right and that feels safe.
Yep.
And I feel like there is a part of me that still does that. Absolutely. And Lauren Fleshman wrote a post about sandbagging that reminded me of this a little bit too. You try to really decrease your expectations, and it's different to say, oh, I'm going to suck just so that, you'll be right at the end of the day. But, I think there's a flip side to that, which is that you can go in instead of putting a lot of pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
I think there is a way to have no expectations that involve, that there's a way to have no expectations, but not in a have low expectations way. There's a difference between low expectations and no expectations. And I really finally felt like that's how I went into this race last weekend. I honestly didn't know. I had, based on my easy effort pace, there was a range of about 40 minutes in my head that my finish time could have been in. And it was in that range. I did not know where in that range it was going to be. And I was curious about where it would end up. And I was feeling some feelings today about I know there are some things that I could have done better, that I could have executed better. I didn't know that course. The weather was what it was. I made the best I could make out of that day. And I think that that's the difference between approaching something with low expectations so that you're not going to disappoint yourself, because that would be the worst thing ever, versus saying okay, I wonder what's going to happen. Maybe I'll be thrilled. Maybe I'll totally crush it. Maybe I'll have some regrets. Maybe I'll think about things I could have done better. But having those regrets and having those, maybe I could do this better. Maybe I want to do this again and try again. That's not actually the worst thing in the world,
Yeah. And it's one of the reasons why I used to say I haven't been pushing it as hard this year, but it's a drumbeat that's going to get louder next year as people, I feel like I know there are a whole bunch of people sitting back to see if these 10-week marathon ramps work right now. Spoiler, they do, and we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we are. Mm-hmm.
But when it's important to note that before that rolls out, one of the things I used to make people do was you need to define failure before we start. You don't get to cross the finish line and say, well, I didn't get everything on my list, so it's a failure. Mm-hmm. That's stupid. That's toxic and abusive. And that's real. That's probably been used against you at home and at work multiple times during your life. At the same time, it is not the stick by which we should measure things going forward. It's going to set you up for constant disappointment and failure. So what's the worst that can happen? What do I need to get? What's the worst that could happen? I don't get it. Or I die on the course. God forbid. I'm embarrassed. I'm hurt. This person left. What is the worst thing that could happen? Once you sort of written that down and faced it and saying, is that still proof positive that I'm a failure? So what would failure look like? Because no one fails at the marathon. Even if you DNF and DNS, y'all know how I feel about that. It's one of the reasons I got so mad at my husband. If you saw the live stream this afternoon, I am all about the DNF and the DNS. If you ain't ready, or it's not your day, or things are not working out, is no shame. That is you being in control, making an empowered decision. If you say, no, I'm going to do it anyway, that's not an empowered decision. That's fear. Yeah. And when fear is in the driver's seat, man, you're going to make some really messed up decisions. So the way I deal with the fear of failure is that I define failure and I take fear out of the equation as much as possible. Expectations, they're always going to be there. You're always going to have hopes, and that's okay. It's more the process of making sure that you face the reality that these things that you hope for might not happen. Can you go on? And if not, do we still need to do this? Because you don't have to do anything.
Right. So you something that you said tripped a wire for me, an Instagram post that I read today. And this is by someone named Iris McAlpin, who posts a lot of things about health at every size that I really love. And
she's based in Seattle.
Yes. Yeah. She's really amazing. And so she says, we all have an inner critic that likes to tell us we're not good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, or successful enough. Mine likes to tell me that no one cares what you have to say and that the content you post makes no real difference. And boy, can I relate to that. And then, so this is a little bit further down. She says, fundamentally, our inner critic is a well-honed self-defense mechanism that keeps us from taking risks and protects us from disappointment or rejection. Basically, we reject ourselves before we give anyone else a chance to reject us. And the last thing she says, in order to help you face your inner critic today, it helps to remember that this is me trying to protect myself. Seeing it that way at least gives me compassion for myself and sometimes opens up room to choose different actions. And so being able to look back on the way I have shielded myself from disappointment in so many different ways throughout my life and kind of where that came from, that was a defense mechanism for me. That was because my mom had cancer when I was a kid. I mean, it's because a lot of things. It's not because one thing, but I could identify the fact that, and I remember when I came up with this brilliant idea, it's real. I was like, well, if I always expect that, she's going to have to be in the hospital overnight and my dad's not going to come get me for dinner. Because it was so crushing when I was expecting my dad to come get me for dinner and my mom. And it turned out they were both going to be at the hospital. I had to stay at whoever the fuck's house, for the rest of the afternoon. I was like, well, what if I just expect that every time? Then I don't have to be disappointed. And it kind of worked. It worked the first time because I felt almost a little smug for having figured it out and I knew this was coming. I was right. And it does help to have compassion for myself. It does help to see it that way and to think of myself as not like a sandbagger or a person with a negative attitude or whatever. It's like, no, I had to protect myself from being hurt all the time. And this was a way that I came up with to do it. And it's in me and it's a part of me. And I think it's a part of a lot of us. But
that's the process of therapy. It's getting rid of these coping mechanisms and tools that you don't need anymore because you're out of that situation. And they're really hard to let go of because a lot of the process of self-awareness is becoming aware of when you're using that coping mechanism in an unnecessarily, no longer necessary way.
Yeah. Yeah. So knew that was going to be a long answer. Not sorry. Thank you for asking that question. Whoever asked that question, I hope that was helpful. And I'm sure we will return to this topic because we always do, because it's a huge part of why we're here and why we're doing what we're doing and what we're trying to get out of this sport. And I'm so happy that so many of the people in our programs are really open to having these conversations and being really raw and honest about kind of where they're coming from. So on that note, let's move to Rebuild. And the first question in Rebuild appropriately is, how do I know if Rebuild or Runner Interrupted is a better fit?
If you are able to run in any way, and you want to do that right now, then Rebuild is probably where you want to be because there's no running and no strength in Runner Interrupted. It is truly for runners not running, people who are not participating in fitness at the moment. It is possible if you are in need of a little more support that you can opt into some of the tools that we have in Runner Interrupted. That's fine with us. Because remember, this is part of the basic suite of programs. You have access to all three whenever you need them and you can move back and forth as you see fit. But Runner Interrupted is really for a true interruption, and Rebuild, there is motion. That's at the heart of it. That's where I would say the two are. And very soon you're going to be getting a book of checklists and things to use that you can determine when you're ready. If you are injured, that will help you make a good empowered decision to move over into Rebuild. If you're in Runner Interrupted and you're not injured, you probably don't need me or a checklist to tell you when you're ready to move over to Rebuild and get started again.
Yeah. All right. So I hope that was helpful. If you have follow-up questions, please ask them in the Facebook groups. I will be pasting this stream in the Facebook groups tomorrow morning. So that is a great place to, if you listen and you have follow-up questions, go ahead and put them in the thread there. And if you listen to this later in the week as a podcast and you have follow-up questions, whatever the daily thread is that day, that is the place where you go. We are listening. Okay. Next question. Currently in Rebuild and starting to get my feet back under me again. I just registered for a half in the spring, which will be a huge group gathering girls weekend kind of event and my first half since October 2017. Course limit is 3:30, which I should have no issues with meeting. And otherwise, it will be a low pressure, low expectation morning. With roughly 5 months to go, what would you recommend as far as goals on shifting lanes and rebuild and or timing of jumping to maintain? I want to be comfortable and relaxed and not break myself along the way. Thank you.
I mean, honestly, I'm not that fussed about it. I don't think it's that formal. Or rather, I wouldn't look at it that formally. So the pressure, if there was going to be any, to get over to maintain would be, about at least 2 months out. If we could, try to start extending your long runs as much as possible. Now, the long runs in rebuild are not insignificant. They're not overwhelming. But we did not design rebuild with the idea of having you race ready in mind. But most people who are in there have more fitness than they think they do. For example, Melissa Yakuzo, as she told us at the 3 Days of the Fair podcast last year, granted that's a very different setup and a very different event, than most traditional races. And by the way, we're going back to 3 Days at the Fair. If you guys had not heard that already, please go RSVP.
Oh, there is a question. Actually, I'll move that up to the next question because this will be a good segue. Have
you checked the RSVPs, by the way, Sarah?
I not in the last day, but I checked a few days ago and there
27.
were. Oh my God, that's amazing. I love it.
Me, Chris, the staff, no fitness protection staff, and Susan.
Wow.
That does not include them.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. Yay.
Rude nanny. Anyway, sorry.
So do we feel like we've answered that question adequately?
I mean, I'm less worried about the structure of you need 1 month here and 2 months here and 2 months here. Yeah. I would give yourself 2 months to start really extending the long runs to the point where you would feel comfortable participating in this half. Because remember, it's an easy thing with your girlfriends, but what do I need to get? How am I going to feel about really kind of
still got to do it. Honestly, with a social event, it's so important to actually to really think about it, because I think it's very easy to kind of be like, oh, it's no big deal. But then you're there with your friends. You're like, oh, well, what if I'm faster than her and slower than her and like that stuff creeps up on you. And it's worth taking a second to kind of orient yourself and make sure that you're not going to let it catch you unawares. Be prepared.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if you are in lane 1 though, and you feel ready to move into lane 2, I would say try that when you are ready and give it a full month in lane 2 and then see where you are.
Yeah. It's more a function of what work you're ready to do than what you need to do to be prepared to go to a race.
Exactly. Right. So on that note, because we're super excited about this, can you give us some more information about 3 Days of the Fair for those of us who haven't been before? So glad you asked. Yes, we absolutely can.
It's one of the reasons that this was initially proposed to me was that it was going to be held on Susan DeLeo's 50th birthday, and she wanted to run 50 miles for her 50th birthday, and she was dead set on it happening at this event. And I remember looking at the course and was like, ugh, 50 miles on pavement around a parking lot at the fairground. Are you kidding me? That sounds awful. Why do you want to do this, Susan? Right. I said no the first time. I made her work for it a little bit. The second time, I'm like, just give me one good reason why you want to do this. She's like, I live in New Jersey, MK. This is the only trail race I can train for reasonably, or the only ultra I could train for because all the ultras are on trails. And I was like, okay, sold, done. Let's do it. It ended up being a really terrific experience. And when I saw it, when I got there, I stood corrected. Everything about it blew my mind, from
it was awesome.
The setup to the thought of, we don't have the resources to put on bigger meetups. I hate to draw anyone to a place where I can't feed them, or at least give them bottles of, Coca-Cola or bottles of water, and here's some apples. We're not even getting, I mentioned before, we're a brand new business. None of us are getting paid yet. It's a team of volunteers working full time, hoping to make this dream happen. And what resources we do have, we just can't justify doing in-person events. Is really, really expensive. I organized with a small team. I was one of the organizers of the Wharton Finance Conference in 2009. And that was a nightmare of logistics and work. It was worth it, but I'm like, oh, I know. And I've got married. That was an event. I know how much an event is. And I was like, this is a way that we could all show up, meet. Everyone's responsible for their own thing. We could be there for 2 or 3 days, effectively camping in an RV, wake up, run when we want to, stop when we want to, nap when we want to, shower when we want to, because these timed races, you can set your own goals for each day and just as many miles as you want to go in 24 hours on day, or in 12 hours, or in 24 hours, or over 3 days. There's so many different ways you could look at it. I just thought like I've never seen anything like it. Cause even in most ultras, most of the good ones, like the bigger ultras that are not to say smaller ones aren't worth doing, but you can't leave the course. You leave the course. That's a DNF. Like it's just very different. There's no stopping for a nap. Like you just keep going. With this, when in the dead heat of the afternoon, you could walk off course and be like, I'm done with this. I'm going to take a break. Come back at 6 o'clock when the sun's starting to set. It's a heck of a lot cooler, and you've had a shower, a nap, and a full belly, and keep on going. And people did that. Some people just got up there and walked. It was really cool to feel in control, and everyone sort of setting their own pace and their own race and their own goal and their own idea of what they wanted to get out of it. And these campgrounds are beautiful and they're huge. And I'm like, man, even if you weren't running, just to come and be where everyone is. I've never been with a group to an event where it was okay to not run, where you had a place and a job if you weren't running. And here, like, you could be manning the boots. You could be cheering with me. You could be cheering with Coach Sarah. You could go shopping for shoes in the middle of the day like Melissa did last year.
Yes, she did.
There's no end to the things that you could do. But it's a huge meetup where I'm not responsible for feeding or selling hotel slots. And I'm like, that sounds really good to me. So with that in mind, if that's not your idea, fine, I totally get it. But the way Susan sold me on it this year, when I was like, give me one good reason to go back, that's a holdover from, my previous position. I feel like I need a clean break. Why should I go back to this? And she's like, it's the one event I can think of that Runner Interrupted and Rebuild could do.
Yeah.
And like have fun with and not feel like they're missing out. They could make the empowered decision, be like, I have no desire to do this. I just wanted to be here, where you're going to see people over and over and over again. You know how many times I've gone to races, and I'll let you jump in a minute, sir. You know how many times I've gone to races and I've heard at the end of it, I sat at the finish line pregnant in massive amounts of pain in the freaking rain for hours, and I saw you cross the finish line. I saw like 2 other people cross the finish line. I did not see all of the runners that I had there that day. And a lot of them didn't see me either. They were not on the correct side of the road, even though I was exactly where I said I was going to be. And I get it, at the end of a marathon, you're a little disoriented, but no one gave me that grace. It was like, I was really disappointed. I was crushed to get there and not see you. It's like, I went to the bathroom. You came during like one of my bathroom trips. I'm really sorry. I got that at New York. I had never gotten that before. And this used to be a thing I really took a lot of pride in. I would sit at the finish line. I would wait for all my people. I would foam roll them. I would take care of them. I would congratulate them as they crossed the finish line. I was there for hours, like 11 hours easily, from like 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. Every year of the Denver Rock and Roll Marathon. We don't have the marathon anymore. And the half is sort of like, no one needs me for that. It's not as much of a it's not the event that it used to be. To put it mildly. But I tell you, this one thing that I took a lot of pride in doing just did not work in any other capacity, but it does work here, because on that loop, you're going to see people over and over and over again. And I'm there if you need me. Like, you can pick up your phone and call me, or you can send a relay back, like, go get the coach. We've got a problem. I can do my job, and I can be hands on. I can be there. I can be cheerleading. I can be coaching. I can be supporting. I can be calling the plays. I can be like, okay, you look hot. Get off the course. Go take a shower. You go eat something. You're good. Keep going here. It's fun to be there and be part of it, as opposed to like, there's a 10-second window and I don't know when that window's opening, but if I miss it, I'm an a-hole, because I'd rather not be an a-hole, especially like I really do aim to please. I care about the quality of it, but like this is a place where I feel like it's really hard to fail as a coach and as a runner, because it's awesome. So yeah, we really hope
also, there are hella walkers. There are people who literally walk that is all they plan to do. That is all they do. They just walk. They come back year after year and they walk more and walk more and walk more. So like you will see more people walking than running at any given moment. And that's one of the other amazing things about it. That's why people in Runner Interrupt and Rebuild, even if you're only running like a little bit here and there, like, cool, ultra runners are all about walking. And it's just a really cool mentality. I have never in my life wanted to run at 9 p.m. That has always sounded terrible to me. And I signed up for the 12-hour race so that I would have, so that I could like be out on the course and like, get food from the course. I just figured this would be a good way to kind of be there and be able to access everything that I would need to. And I didn't know how stringent they were going to be about like non-participants running and walking with people. And I wanted to be able to run with people who are still running in the middle of the night. Yeah. And I had the best time. 3 hours of running around that loop went by like so fast. I was amazed by how good it felt and how cool it was and how loop after loop just sort of slid by me. And I didn't do nearly as many loops as some of the people.
Oh, and just to be clear, you don't have to pay to spectate. You don't have to pay.
You don't have to
enter or be there. I paid nothing. I had intended to sign up, but then things happened. I wasn't physically in a good place, and I knew at this point I was going to need surgery. Where I knew that something was massively wrong and getting worse by the minute. So I ended up not running. But if there had been, and I say this out of love to the race organizers, if there was a fee, I would gladly pay it to be there. I can't believe they don't charge for it because there were a whole lot of people there that were there for the
just
party, hanging out. But I would. We'll see what we try to do as a group. If we really do have a group this large go, we might want to do something for the race director to show our appreciation just for that. But shoot, if there is no good reason not to come, period. I mean, if you can make it happen, if you can make it work, whether you run, whether you don't, this could sound awful great. Come for the day, leave before it gets dark, or just don't rule it out categorically. When I'm wrong, I'll own it. And I was wrong about this event. It is effing fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. We're so excited. So many people are interested. We hope to see a lot of you there. All right. Next question. Yep. Y'all have been talking a lot lately about how the training cycle isn't where you gain speed. As a slow runner, I'm interested in how speed grows. I don't want to be speedy. I just want to get to mid-pack, maybe 10 to 11 minute miles most days. But from back here, that feels very far away.
The fastest route to speed is strength. I've said that. I've said that a lot. I'm not going to say it less. I'm adding in more, like stick with the functional strength that we give you. We also give you a lot of, anything that involves the loops or would put you on a BOSU ball. That's the functional type of strength. The strength circuits, you may do them twice or even 3 times through. You can go over and add the strength from rebuild as well, which is more functional strength if you wanted to have a twofer, and that's totally fine with us. What the thing to remember is strength will get you there faster, things like the high knees, and being really fastidious about, the warm-ups and the warm-up drills. We have a PDF. I keep forgetting to share that we have a PDF now, that reminds you of the order of the warm-up drills and why they're important. And we hope that, once I get that up, the people will use it and come back to it. So the route, the fastest way to get faster is doing exactly what you're doing, being tenacious AF, showing up 5 days a week, and keeping those crucial adaptations in your feet, making sure your body's adapted to this sport. Cause I really don't care how strong you are and how much power you have. If you haven't been running and you don't have those crucial adaptations, you are in for a shock on race day. So with that in mind, what do you say, Sarah?
I want to say that 10 to 11 minute miles most days is about where I am right now. And I did not start out here when I started heart rate training. I was coming back from having a baby, and I am just still here 3.5 years later. And I guess that's really the thing. And I've had a couple of setbacks, but I've been able to come back from them just by like doing all the things that we're telling you to do. And I know that it is hard. I know that it is super frustrating to be walking when you'd rather be running, all this stuff we've been talking about just tonight on this broadcast and many other things. And it's keeping yourself healthy so you don't have to stop. And so that when you do have to stop, if you do have to stop, you figure out what work you can do and keep going. And it's an unsexy answer, I know. But we've heard from a lot of people. I think that it's a common desire to want to just feel like, hey, yeah, I can run middle of the pack. Like it's no big deal. 10 to 11 minute miles seems to be kind of a threshold that matters to a lot of people, because it's sort of the threshold where whatever run group you want to show up for socially, there's like going to be a group of people that are going to be running that pace. And I know that that's meaningful to be able to hang with those people. And it's attainable if you just stay healthy and build slowly.
Yeah.
And that
most of the things that a lot of folks would want to do to get there faster are not going to make them stronger. They're just going to make them tired. And it's not going to move the needle on their aerobic capacity, because trying to add strength running elements like tempo runs and hill repeats before your lungs and your booty are ready to handle them are not going to do you any good. So I've seen people jump into harder things expecting rewards. I will be rewarded for harder work. And it's like, it's easy to go hard. It is hard to go smart. And we give you everything you need to succeed in the long term here, and with the notion that you will get faster over time.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Once all the pieces are in place, you'd be surprised how quickly it comes together.
Yes. It happened pretty quickly for me. I remember I went from 14 something to close to 15-minute miles to around 11-minute miles, a hair above 11-minute miles in like about a year and a half. And the pace itself hasn't budged much since then. A lot of other things have changed and improved and that kind of thing. But when you start like finding the low hanging fruit and taking advantage of the changes that you can make, and the consistency really, really adds up. So, all right. This next question, I love this question, and it just makes me really happy. What is the podcast theme song? Is it available on any of the public stores?
I'm laughing at that question because
I am laughing too.
When I heard this song for the first time, I was just going through a database of royalty-free music, and was like, "Ooh, I really like this. I really like this tempo. I like this song. I love the words." So I reached out to the company and asked like where else it had been used, and they looked through their catalog at the time and was like, "Looks like it might have been in this one porno." And I'm like,
"Yes,
perfect."
Sold.
Perfect. Hard or soft, just out of curiosity. And they were very generous in sharing that. And let me pull up. I will post the name of the song in the comments and in the show notes for the podcast. I don't have it at my fingertips. But it is a real song. And I don't know if you can get it in iTunes.
I think we bought it through that store that's like specifically for buying the rights to music for use in your own stuff.
Let me pull it up. It's the name of the song is How Do You Like Me Now? It is not by The Heavy. It is not by Toby Keith. I would not be able to afford anything from them.
It's a really good song.
It's not the book by Holly Bourne. Oh, well.
We'll figure it out. We'll post it. We'll put it in the show notes. Yeah. All right. Next question. What is the benchmark for a good night's sleep? Sometimes I feel like I'm playing into the advertising for sleep monitoring because I can't objectively be able to tell if it was a good night of sleep, quote unquote, good night of sleep. Is it worth all the extra data points? What about waking up to go to the bathroom or change positions as long as you go back to sleep easily?
That's the thing. I don't love a lot of the sleep monitors, and it feels like there's more pressure. There's pressure to walk.
Exactly.
That 10,000 steps notion is bull. I mean, and they made it up. Then they admitted it as such. It is absolutely meaningless. I ran 21 miles this morning, and my activity level for the day when I finished was at 110%. I ran 21 miles. What was my activity goal, Polar? So, I mean, and the sleep goal is kind of the same thing. Here's what matters about sleep. You are waking up feeling rested. That is it. For some people, it'll happen with 6 hours. With some people, it'll happen with 8. I don't like sleeping in a super dark room with lots and lots of blackout shades because it makes it really hard to wake up. So all of the things that they say that you really need to do in order for 2 or 3 days, at least, to determine what your sleep needs are, I can't do them because I make me feel like crap. I know for me, if I've had a good night's sleep, if the next day I'm usually tired, eyes starting to shut around 9:30 every night. On a night when I'm not, that's usually a sign that I didn't sleep well the night before, and that thing's going to keep me awake again. If I'm interrupted multiple times through the night, either by children or by, my husband, or what, we're having to go to the bathroom a lot or whatever, the issue, that's probably not going to be as good, but there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Worrying about it, being like, oh no, I'm not going to get enough sleep is a surefire way to stay awake longer. And this is where the podcast with, Conan O'Brien and Hannah Gadsby comes in. That one always sort of like focuses my brain and winds me down on the nights when I need it to ensure that I can get at least better sleep than I did the night before. So with that in mind, like you really don't need exogenous markers to tell you how much sleep you need or how good the quality of your sleep actually was. If you could rate it on a scale of 1 to 5, how well did you sleep last night? You know when you've had a good night's sleep. Like, God, I slept so good. I feel so refreshed. This is really awesome. You're not going to have that every day. Sleeping well every night, making the attempt to sleep well every night, having some sort of a bedtime routine and a morning routine that facilitates getting you going, that doesn't involve a lot of rushing and a lot of stress. That's a really good thing to do. Part of my evening routine is setting out my things for tomorrow, being like, what have I forgotten? Absolutely nothing. Good, done. Night. Everything else can wait, much to the chagrin of some of the people around me. But it's like, there comes a point where I'm like, no, that actually can and will wait.
Yeah. I got nothing to add to that. I sometimes I'm in a groove where I'm sleeping well. Sometimes I'm not. Kids have a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. And I do not wear my watch when I go to sleep. I do not like the pressure of, oh, was this a good night of sleep? That completely turns me off. And therefore I don't do that. I also just don't like the feeling of wearing a watch when I'm in bed.
Yeah, I don't even know what Polar tells me my quality of sleep was. Like, if it asks, did you sleep well, and I need it for the orthostatic test, that's when I'll think about it. But I think it's interesting if it's like, oh, you got 6.5 hours of sleep. I'm like, yeah, it's about what I thought. That sounds about right. On a night of bad sleep, I'm like, how bad was it? And I look at their total sleep time. And I'm usually like, that makes sense. But I use it as a reference point, not a predictive point.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is the last one from Rebuild. No question, just a heartfelt thanks for supporting me. I had a friend ask me if I wanted to run a half with her in April. I was trying to decide, and I talked to my husband, who laughed at me. It really hurt not to feel supported. I thought about doing it to spite him and prove him wrong, but decided that wasn't a decision based on what I wanted or needed. So I decided not to do it because I'm listening to my doubters, but not because I'm listening to my doubters, but because it's the right decision for me. I don't think I would have made the right choice for me without your support. I'm going to keep going month to month and make my progress at the rate that my body decides it's ready to make. So thanks for supporting and loving me.
Oh my gosh, you are easy to coach and even easier to love. And I certainly hope no one hears the story of me saying to my husband, I stand by it. You weren't ready to run that marathon. And I wish you hadn't. But that's because he was in so much pain for so many days afterwards. And it wasn't that I don't believe in him. It's that, yeah, I mean, I believe he can do all kinds of crazy things, but I'm also certain that he had not trained appropriately for that or slept enough at all the night before, because RJ didn't sleep at all the first 12 weeks of his life. After that, he slept 13 hours a day and it was fantastic. But up until that point, it was like, really? Again? Great. Oh my God. Oh so my God. To that end, I'm not trying to, I'm not gaslight you or tell you, what's happening in that scenario better than I do, but I certainly hope you didn't hear what I said to my husband and would read that into any other situation. If it's good on you for finding it in you to make the empowered decision for you and not based off, not reacting to the things around you. Totally. That's a really hard thing to do. It is a really hard thing to do. I can't tell you how many times people in office hours in previous roles would ask a question like, I'm thinking of doing this. Do you think it's a good idea? And I would say, well, all things considered with what you just told me, no, I don't. I don't think you're going to get what you want out of this. I'll show you. I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I thought you would be positive. You sound like such a positive person. Well, you're a negative Nelly. And I'm like, okay. I'm also toxic Tina in my spare time. So listen, so there are all kinds of things like you can make it about me, or you can make it like it's about the delivery. It's never easy to receive information that you don't want, or that might be a little bit hurtful. But you know what? It is hard to fake a half. You can fake a 5K. Anybody with a decent amount of fitness can show up and run a 5K faster than say someone who runs a lot, and it can be really maddening, but that's power. It's harder, but possible still for someone who does like a lot of spin classes to fake a 10K. It is harder still to fake a half, and it is impossible to fake the marathon. So to that end, do it. The longer the event, the more focus and training and, adaptation required. And gosh, you know what? Having a bad day doesn't say anything about you. But trying to force a good day and beat yourself up, that says something about the situation that you might be in, because that's not conducive to success. And I really want to maximize everyone's opportunities for success. I do not want anyone in any of my problems to feel like a failure. Especially not for a finish time. Walking into something knowing it's going to take you 6 hours, 6 hours of work, it's more than 4 hours of work. So if you're coming in knowing you're going to be doing more work and working harder, you should not be getting less at the end. It's same.
Exactly.
That's pretty much everything I have to say about that. Congratulations on Empowered Choice. I'm sorry your spouse hurt your feelings. It's terrible. God knows I've hurt my spouse's feelings a lot, over different, even if it came from loving places, still, it doesn't really matter. I hurt him. So with that in mind, it's never a great place to be. It's never a great thing to do. I'm very sorry that happened. And I'm glad we didn't force running to try to fix that part of you that was hurting in that moment. Cause it sounds like this race might not have been the right answer or the thing to do that.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really great transition to the shout outs that we want to give today. So Maintain, we're moving over to Maintain, and we had a lot of people in Maintain racing. This was a big weekend for races. We had people at 4 different races this weekend, who just did things that we are so proud of. And first of all, I really, really want to recognize and give a lot of love to Colleen Daly LaChance, who was planning on running the marathon at Wineglass and did not. That was such a good decision, and I applaud you so much. And I know how hard it was. I know what that took for you, and I know that it was that you spent a lot of time worrying about the options that you had. You know, should you move over to the half? Should you try and do the full, but be worried about the time limit? And, or, you know, should you not do either of them at all? And which of those, how was your choice going to make you feel, whatever it was? And you didn't really know how it was going to make you feel. And that was kind of scary. And in the end, because of obstacles unexpectedly cropping up, you decided to not do the race this year. And that was just such a good choice. And I'm so proud of you. And I really hope that doesn't sound patronizing. I just want to tell you that I know how hard it is to make that kind of an empowered choice, even when you know it's right, even when you know that it's smart. It's still, it takes a lot of clarity about yourself and about what you need and about the right thing to do. So you deserve so much credit, and I'm really happy for you, and you have so much great stuff ahead of you. You really, really, really do. And you deserve all of it, and it's coming. And I'm happy. And you probably have very mixed feelings. I'm not saying you have to be happy about that today, especially today, the day that people ran the race that you wanted to run. That fucking sucks.
Well, I mean, look, you feel what you feel, period. Those feelings are valid. What it comes down to is here we celebrate good decisions. Yay for good decisions all the time. Good decisions are usually hard to make. They come in the face of people that are going to call you a pussy. They're going to call you weak. But you know what? That's the worst they can do. And most of those people don't run.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't get it. No. And fuck them. You know what? That's Steve talking. If you listened to us this past week, if you listen to me on the morning mantra on Friday, by the way, full credit to Coach MK for coming up with the name Steve for all of the negative feelings, the people being shouldn't you have run faster? I know a guy who ran that race and didn't train at all and he went faster than you. How about that? Fuck that guy. Fuck those people who say that shit. They don't get it. They don't get it. And they don't want to. Exactly. They don't want to. Yeah. And fuck them forever. Yay for good decisions. Good decisions are hard, and we're proud. And we did it. We had many people at Wineglass who ran the half and the full. We had Mary Chesky, Michelle Emanuel, and Amanda Kennedy who ran the half marathon. And I am pretty sure I am not missing anyone. If I am, please, I'm going off the Google document that had names where people put their names in there. So if your name is not in there, I really apologize for not catching the fact that you weren't in there. But all 3 of you, you're amazing. I loved your pictures. I loved seeing the pictures of all of you together, seeing all the pictures of everybody together. And then Amy Wilson and Yuzuko de Gratile, who ran and I'm really sorry, Yuzuko, if I pronounced your name terribly, who ran the full marathon. Both of you guys had PRs. Oh my fucking God. I'm crying.
It's really exciting.
I'm so
Amy
happy for
broke
you.
5.
Amy broke 5 for the second time. She went faster than the first time she broke 5. She broke 5 for the first time at Sugarloaf, and Yuzuko broke 4. And that was your first time breaking 4. And that's so amazing.
It really is. And Amy's had PR'd the marathon twice this year alone.
Yes.
As well as the half.
Yeah.
She's gone from strength to strength to strength. And we really hope that momentum will continue. That's why we train the way we do and maintain. And that's why you really don't, when you maintain the way that we do, you don't need more than 10 weeks to train for a marathon. You really don't. It takes the pressure off, takes the expectations down. And you can do another one if the first one doesn't go well, if it's not your day, if you wake up with stomach cramps or it rains, like you've got, there's not so much riding on it that a backup plan, where it's crushing when things go wrong. And that's really where we need to be and stay. Exactly. If we're going to have longevity in this, because if you make every time, well, it was kind of sucky, but, and trying to defend it as though you're only as good as your most recent finish time, you're not going to stay here very long. It's not going to.
Yeah, because you know what? I can say this because I just did this a week ago. The marathon is hard. Yep. The marathon is really hard.
There are no easy marathons.
There are no easy marathons.
Sorry, these hurt you.
There is no faking it. It's just like the last third of a marathon is a brutal experience. Even if you're super fit, even if you're super well prepared, it is going to hurt and it's going to be hard. And you're going to have some stuff in your head to deal with and some stuff in your legs to deal with. And like, I am really fit. I went into that marathon really fit. And it was, the weather was pretty good and it was hard.
You don't train the pain away. It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way. Exactly. Yeah. So we're not,
I think a lot of people go into it thinking I'm really trained and fine. And then when it starts to hurt, now granted that there are a lot of things that can go wrong. There are a lot of things that can happen. It's all a function of critical power and knowing when yours is going to run out. What I say, that's a fancy way of knowing like how hard you can push the gas pedal and when. Can I pick it up? If so, when and by how much? These are the nuances of knowing what where your effort levels are at any given moment and how they apply over time as the clock ticks. And it takes a while to get to know yourself. And during a training cycle, you will get stronger. And so what your body can and will do will change. So that's why it's so important all the time to be in tune with your body and what it's doing and why I encourage us to do things the way that we do them here in fitness protection. It's so that we have better outcomes like this. And when you have a bad day or things aren't going according to the plan that you've written on your arm, you can pivot and adjust and still be okay.
Yeah. And so we have more marathoners. We had the Loch Ness Marathon where we had Karen Schluter, and Karen Schluter, I know you had a tough day and you had calf cramps and there were mega hills and the weather was all over the fucking place. But man, you ran your 27th marathon. Oh my
big
God.
Deal. It's a really
big deal. That's so many marathons and that's so much tenacity and that's so much work. And and if you haven't listened to our Maintain podcast, guys, you really need to listen to it. It just came out on Friday. It's so good. Karen is one of the voicemails that comes in the back half. And God, I love listening to her talk about her journey, especially with heart rate training, learning about patience, learning about just, kind of hanging in there and still being there 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, even if, you're always working towards it. That's Karen. And Karen, we're really proud of you. And I really, really hope that you're in a pub right now. Actually, no, it's super late in Scotland. I hope you're asleep. I hope that you're in a pub first thing tomorrow morning, having a Guinness with your breakfast, because my God, you deserve to celebrate this. St. George Marathon in Utah, Megan Duncan. Oh, Megan Duncan. God, that was one of the ones that I figured out how to do the tracking. Unfortunately, I didn't figure it out with Wineglass until it was late. And also it was all kinds of travel stuff going on today. But yesterday, all morning, I was like, well, got nothing to do until this wedding. So I guess I better figure out how to track Megan Duncan and see how she's doing. And so I was like waiting in line to go into a estate sale with my husband, like getting texts about Megan Duncan. And it was so exciting. And I'm so proud of you, Megan. Oh my God. I'm so proud of you. Oh,
I'm proud of you too. It's amazing. Everybody did so well this weekend. Yes. And I've got to have hats off to my lead DJ. Had another DJ day.
Let's do Twin Cities. Let's talk Twin Cities.
Yeah, Twin Cities. I can't say I was so nervous for him this morning. I had to leave my phone behind. I asked my run buddy if he would carry his and track it. And then he didn't bring his phone and I was kind of mad. So like the last hour of my long run, I was really, really pouty because I really needed, I need to know what DJ's doing. And when I got back to my phone, I was like 55 minutes for a 10 miler. whoa, I was absolutely floored. I ugly cried on my lawn, because that's right where we wanted him to be. And he got second place in his age group, which is huge for a guy who only started running maybe 10 years ago. We've been working together for 5. His first marathon was like a 4:36.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. So, and he's been waiting a long time for it. He has not had until Houston in January, the year before. I don't think he got a finish time that was worthy of not just his efforts, but really showcased his fitness level. The year before, he just had 2 really rough races. And you can't swing the bat that many times and miss at that level. So it's so satisfying to see that click for him. And his next race coming up is California International, a course that he's run before. And we're feeling strong really going into it. So I tell you that to tell you this. I know those finish times might not mean anything because he sounds ridiculously fast, but wherever you are, he was there once. I don't care if you progress at the same rate. I don't care if you get to where he is. Just know this. If you don't have a breakthrough in a year or 2, that doesn't mean you're done. It certainly doesn't mean that you're where you are is where you will remain. As long as you keep showing up, as long as you keep caring, as long as you stay focused, your DJ day will come.
Yeah.
Because he didn't max out. I looked at when I got the email, I saw that before I saw his texts. The email from Training Peaks, he had already uploaded his run, and I saw 2 numbers that let me know very quickly that he had not maxed out. He had not hit the wall and had to walk beyond the finish time. I looked to be like, was that as hard as he could go? No, it wasn't. I'm like, he could have gone faster. He'd stopped twice to tie his shoes in the first mile. So, wow. And I didn't even know that. I just looked at this and thought he didn't max it. He went really fast and he didn't max out. That means he could have gone faster. That means, whoa, it just sort of everything, the earth really started shaking. And he wasn't even aware of that until I, underlined those points with my finger very badly through like tears and shaking on my iPad this morning and sent it to him. So, this is the moment we've literally been waiting for. It's been 4 years. I would not say 5 years in the making, though that's how long we've been working together. That first year, it's hard getting to work to know each other and getting to trust someone that was a new unknown
totally.
Entity. Yeah. And trying to be like, who the F is this and why do I have to do what you say to do? It's like, well, because you want to get where you want to go. This is what you're lacking. We really got into a really good working rhythm last year, and I am agog at the results, and it couldn't have happened to someone. There's no one who deserves it more. No one who deserves it more than him. So, and remember, he had nothing to show for this for a couple of years.
Yeah.
A lot of disappointment where it's like, I know I'm faster than that. I'm like, I know you're faster than this dude. Hang in there. And he did. So.
And so I want to stay on Twin Cities for a minute too, because we had Amanda Williams at Twin Cities today. And man, Amanda Williams, I am so fucking proud of you.
Yep.
You did so many good things today. Starting with number 1, you ran really fast. You ran, and you were one of the first people whose questions we're going to read. You had 5K, 10K, and 10 mile PRs. And then you knew that it was time to call it at a little before the half marathon, and you called it, and you walked off feeling fucking great about yourself. And that makes me really proud. So we'll read your question in a minute. We'll let you tell us about, what was going on, but that's an empowered decision. And you showed yourself that you have a lot. There is a lot in you. You have so much more to do. You have so much ahead of you. And that's really, really exciting and cool. And I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy that you took what was yours today and you had a great day. And you were in control. That's amazing. And final shout out before we go on to questions is from the Portland Half Marathon. Kara Kawahara ran the Portland Half Marathon and did really, really well. We have not heard from you in the Facebook group yet, but I hope we will. 2:08 was your time, and that's awesome. And I also know that you recently won your age group or actually second place in your age group in an 8K locally. Like you're really crushing it this fall. And so I hope that you will chime in at some point this week and let us know how your half marathon went, because we're really proud of you. Yay. This is why it's fun to have a document where people say when they're racing, because then I get to stalk you and your results. And of course, the result does not say anything about you all by itself. So I really want to hear your version of it too. And with that, let's hear what Amanda had to say about Twin Cities today. Yay, Amanda! Okay, I have so many tabs open. Oh my God. All right. Hello, this is Amanda Williams, and I wanted to thank you all for your love and support. This is exactly why I love this community. I've been getting tons of calls and texts to see how I am, because I should be so disappointed. Guess what? I'm not. I feel fucking fantastic. You all understand, and I'm already tired of explaining myself. Oh my God, I feel you so hard, Amanda. I listened to the Maintain podcast during my race and was crying about how amazing this group is. I don't think my foot, so this is why Amanda dropped out. She was having some foot pain. I don't think my foot is going to be anything major. Thank God. And also, yay for good decisions, dropping out before it got worse. That was a really good call. And I'm antsy to potentially just do a 10 mile or half marathon at the end of the month. The paces I felt good holding today are numbers I haven't seen since kids. I'm so curious what I'm capable of if I can lay it all out there. Obviously, if my foot is an actual injury, rest would be the way to go. But if not, thoughts? Next steps?
I say heal it, and then let's go find a race.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily, Amanda's an athletic trainer, so she's got people in her pocket, and hopefully she will go to those people and get some attention for them, and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But we're really excited for you, because this is really cool. This is really, really cool. And this is also why I know that you were really worried about like what paces you were going to be able to hold and stuff based on your
experience last year.
Pace, based on your experience in 2017, which was terrible.
Garbage, by the way.
Garbage. Fuck that.
I'm going to be talking to people about that this week.
Good. Yeah. That was 2017. That was the same year that I ran. And yeah, I remember seeing Amanda the day before and then hearing from her afterwards about what happened and getting swept from the course, even though she was on pace to finish in 6 hours. That's fucked up. And I was really angry on her behalf. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot that you can do. It's so excited to see you excited. And also it's a really good reminder that like your easy effort pace is one number and it doesn't mean a whole lot. There could be a lot that you have to give that you're not seeing on a day-to-day basis because, you know, Amanda, I know you have 2 pretty small kids. You have a stressful job. Your husband has a stressful job. Life is life. And that can have a whole lot bigger effect on your easy effort pace than like your actual fitness level. So
your easy effort pace is always more a reflection of what's happening in your life than as much as it is your fitness. It's not 100% of either. It's neither all good nor all bad. It just is what it is. I would not read too much, into it. Was that the next question?
So yes, the next question is actually about easy effort pace. So yay, we're going to move quickly because man, we had a lot of questions tonight. We've had a lot of cool stuff to do. Let's go. Hi, I'm going to ask you guys to put on your magic coach goggles and speculate with me. Ever since I raced a half last month, I've noticed my easy effort pace has slowed down by a good 20 to 30 seconds, even though attempts have cooled down. Is it possible it's related to racing? I took a full week off from running post-race. Sleep, life, and nutrition are all more or less the same. Although I'm a longtime vegetarian and I'm suddenly craving a real burger big time. Maybe it's related. I don't know. I'm not taking the paces too seriously, I swear, but I will admit to feeling a niggle of worry related to a loose time goal I have for an upcoming marathon. I'd love to hear your thoughts and encouragement. And man, I really want that burger. Thank you.
My first thought is listen to your body. I'm not telling you to go eat the burger. I understand that, vegetarian is a lifestyle choice and I'm not saying you have to throw it aside, but what it is about a burger that you're craving, is it additional fat? Is it iron? Usually it's iron. But there's something nutritionally that you're not getting and it definitely needs to be addressed. And I think it's more likely, the slowdown is more likely related to that than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Listening to your body, always really, really good. And then kind of see what steps to take from there. But also like it's not likely that you are losing fitness. So no. If you need reassurance about that, that's not what it is. You're very fit. You're doing all the right things.
It's not a bird that's going to fly away.
Exactly. All right. Hi, coaches. Talk to me about winter running. Every year, I want to keep going when it gets cold, and then I don't because I don't have gear or a plan. Not this year. I want this year to be different. What do I need to consider in terms of injury prevention or anything else? It was a cold, breezy 47 degrees this morning. Amazing. I always end up, quote unquote, just swimming in winter because it's free. I have a treadmill option, but it's not great. I want to run outside as much as possible. I love running outside in the winter. I just want to say that. And like everyone has their safety standards, but I say, if you can swing it, treat yourself to some fleece gear, stuff that's going to make you comfortable and like embrace it a little bit. Like what would happen if I ran with this like balaclava thing over my face? Would I still enjoy running? I still enjoy running with all that stuff on. I actually really love it. Winter's my favorite running.
The only consideration that I have when it comes to injury is that you don't want to take any risks that aren't really worth taking. If your treadmill is an option, that's always, if there's ice on the ground, Catahulas are fantastic. They're wonderful. I have a set of spikes in my car that go everywhere I do. At the same time, I don't get to use them very often because they were not designed to touch the ground. You grind them down to the nubs and then they aren't good anymore. So
same with yak tracks.
You really have to, if you're going to use a yak track. I'm sorry, sir. We've really got to move faster. When it comes to yak tracks are fantastic. You want them as an option, but you have to be on ice the entirety of the run for them to be effective. You don't want to be going back and forth between ice and gravel or ice and pavement with the spikes. So to that end, when it comes to injury, my only concern is that it's falling on ice. Everything else, when in doubt, inside the treadmill is always a fantastic option. But yeah, definitely embrace running outside. I love winter running. I love cold weather. Embrace it while it's here because it will make it a lot easier to move.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hello, coaches. Today is marathon day. Can you talk through recovery post-race and how to get back into maintain? I know the basics, but it's nice to have a reminder.
So marathon day. Sorry, it took me a second. I'm like, you just ran a marathon.
Itching to get back.
Oh my God. When it comes to recovery, it's a function of three things. One, it's letting your joints relax from the strain and stress that you put on them. Trying to force a recovery run is never a good idea. If listen to your body very, very much. Except if it's telling you not to foam roll, then F that foam roll. Foam roll as much as you can tolerate. Definitely hydrate plenty. You would have lost a lot of salt and a lot of fluid out there on the course, even if you were not running in heat. There's no such thing as too much water. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as too much food. This is what my husband describes as fungry, that I'm so hungry. It's just fun because we eat all of the things. Do that. So recovering is making sure that your body's replenishing itself, whatever that may be. That can come from taking easy effort walks and lubricating your joints a couple times a day. It can come from lying still if that's what you need to do. It can come from Epsom salt baths where your pores are opening up and taking in all the magnesium it possibly can, because that does facilitate muscular recovery. But more than anything else, it involves being kind to yourself and giving your body whatever it needs instead of trying to force it into what you think it needs to have.
Yep. And enjoy the fungry because it's great.
Yes.
All right. And so, but 1 week fully off from running and then slowly ease back in. Is that about right?
That's about right.
Okay. Yeah. For myself, and I'm going to move quickly here. I took this whole week off from running and I'm going to be running this coming week, but nothing above 140, everything strictly below. And then I'll regroup next weekend and see where I am. The nice thing is that there's no should. You can do easy effort only the whole month if you want to. True. All right. Can the optional EAT on week 8 of the marathon ramp be moved to week 9? So that means 2 weeks out from your race. It's supposed to pour tomorrow morning and I don't want to risk getting sick so close to my race.
Yes.
Yes.
That's why it's in week 8.
Exactly. Okay. New here. How do I print out the training plan once I've loaded on Training Peaks? I'm a pen and paper kind of gal. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little video on Zoom where I kind of screen share and film myself doing that and getting a printable version. And I will put that on the Facebook page.
Awesome. I thought you already had one in there.
That is for how to get the training plan, and do the code and everything.
Gotcha.
But I can do one for printable PDFs too. Yay. Okay. Last question. Oh my God, the fall colors. I just want to be up in the mountains as much as I can. How do I incorporate this into my plan? My heart rate jumps when I hike.
I mean, you do it. You go out there and you do it. If you don't have a race on the calendar, who cares? You'll hiking for the same time period, I would say.
Do what you love. That's what it's all about. We want you moving and being happy and not feeling burned out. And that's how you do that. So
absolutely. Because where I've told people to have to cool it in the past, you got to remember it was a very different value proposition. It was a different purchasing decision. They were coming to me training for an event with a goal in mind and a race they've already chosen. There's nothing I can do other than even if they've chosen a bad race and their expectations are irrational, there's nothing I can do about it. So here we have different, and I have to be like, all right, well, in this scenario where we've got to maximize all utility with a ticking clock over us, then we've got to do, if you really want to get the top end of what's possible, then you've got to do everything right for the next 16 weeks, period. And you don't get to deviate. With what we're doing in Maintain, it's a very different proposition because you're moving all the time and you're moving year round. You have more options. You have more flexibility. Even if you're missing long runs because you're trying to get in hikes for 3 or 4 weeks before it gets too cold to do that, you'll come back from that really quickly. It's not a problem. You're never so far gone we can't bring you back. That's what the tether is for. And also keeping that balance over time, because when you aren't maintaining, when you're on your own, when you're untethered, when you're not on sort of plans doing the volume that we're doing, your chances are very good, because I see this all the time. Yeah, it's why I have a job. It's why I was able to start a business. You are probably not retaining the appropriate elements. You're probably not running enough. The aspirational number, what you think you intend to do versus what you actually do. There can be a very wide spread there that's going to leave you not ready to ramp up for a marathon in 10 weeks the way we want you to be able to do. So we have maximum options, including the option to do less during the periods when you want to do other things more. Yeah.
All right. I think that is it for tonight. That was a big, long episode. We got a lot done, and we're so proud of everyone who raced today and everyone who made really good decisions about their races today. This is just congratulations. We love you.
Yay!
Can't wait to see you in the Facebook groups this week.
Then RSVPing for 3 days at the fair. If you go to fitnessprotection.com/events, you will see the group run in Atlanta this weekend where Coach Sarah and Chris and I are going for the She Podcast conference rather. And come run with us on Saturday morning at 7 a.m. The details are there. Let us know that you're coming. And also let us know that you're considering 3 days at the fair. We might be rolling out a training option. We're not sure yet. We got to get through this conference first. You are coached. You are loved. Go win at the week ahead, y'all. We got good things coming.
Woo!